Well, I'm ready when you are.
Okay. I guess we have to figure out our intro, right? Like, welcome to the beautiful mess, where we start all things messy.
I love it.
There we go. We're rolling now. Okay. So I guess maybe we should start by actually explaining how we chose the name The Beautiful Mess for our podcast.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you handle it. Was it always on the list?
You know,
that I
it
didn't
was something
see it?
that it actually was like, this sounds weird, but it was birthed out of our last conversation. So I was like talking to my wife and I was like, hey, like we're trying to think of a name. Any ideas? Like we're talking about this concept of like needing to start messy. Like, you know, in life, there's a lot of times when like you have opportunities and like sometimes you just get like scared or like, you know, you're afraid of like starting something. But like, honestly, that's how you grow. That's how you develop as a person, is to just start. And so like she came up with this awesome idea of the beautiful mess. And to be honest, that's like what life's all about, is just like embracing the messiness and being okay with like just starting something, even if it's not perfect. Because I think in this day and age, like people struggle with perfection. I know I do. And so just to give people permission to like just get started, it's going to work out better if they just, you know, begin it. You have to start somewhere.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, that could be multi-tiered, multi-leveled. Like, I feel like some people get so scared to even like, not even like publicly start, but just start in general. Like they're like, well, I need to have enough time and I need to have it set aside and it will probably take, you know, whatever it might be, you know, it might take 2 hours. So I need to have 2 hours set aside to really like get going. Like I have some friends in mind who, you know, have like small business ideas that they could start and stuff. And some of them they started, some still are just kind of like, yeah, I really want to do it, but like I need to find the time to. And I think it's just like, I mean, like we're saying, like just take 5 minutes, you know, write something down, get your ideas put down on paper or whatever it might be. Even, you know, behind the scenes, just getting started. And then there's the whole like public announcement or putting something online. That's another sort of hindrance, I guess, or whatever that people get stuck on. And yeah, I think too, the biggest thing is I don't say this to like scare anyone away from doing it, but so many people are making stuff online that when you put something out there, not a lot of people probably will see it anyway. So like you can just sort of get over that hurdle and start doing it. And the biggest thing is people, I mean, think of any of your favorite movies, you know, like let's say superhero movies. Like when Spider-Man first makes his suit, it's not the flashy, like what we think of Spider-Man. It's the joggers and the hoodie, right? Like he's, you know, like even we like to watch the come up story or like where they started and then how they got to where they were today. So us as humans, we like seeing that. So I enjoy watching someone who just starts and then we get to watch their journey from, you know, watch them get better and better, and it encourages us to also just start too. So that's what we're doing. We're jumping right into a podcast because we have some fun conversations and we think maybe you all would like to hear it or maybe it could help some of you out. So yeah, I love it. The beautiful mess.
Yes, man, I love that like idea of like the hero. Like that's totally it. Like the hero enters a beautiful mess that they have to like work towards making better. And I think, you know, we have that opportunity to like be the hero and like create that idea, like actually make something. Because, you know, if you just keep it as an idea, I think Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this idea that like so many people say they have like $1 million, you know, business idea, but they don't do anything about it. It's like, yes, you might have had like the idea of Uber, but like you didn't make it like Uber did. So like there's no point of you like, oh man, like just talking like I wish like I had made this, like I had this great idea, or like maybe you still have a great idea, just get started on it. maybe like find a friend, find somebody that can help you take the next step to make that a reality.
I love it. I love it. Beautiful mess. There's like a country song. What a beautiful mess. I don't know. I think of that every time, but that's all right. It's fun.
That'll be our like theme song.
For sure. We can write him, whoever it was. I can't think of his name, and be like, hey, can we use this? You know? Cool. So today, I think we decided on a topic because I think it's something I've been talking about a lot with myself and with Maria. So what is it? What do we got, Paul?
Oh man, I think what was it? Productivity and like finding like what it is that helps you versus like technology that like distracts you and like brings you down or becomes more of an idol in your life where it like takes over. You know, we all have our, you know, phones and like we have a hard time putting them down. We have a hard time like managing that in our lives. And as both Spencer and I are content creators, like it's integrated into our day and day, like where we spend tons of time working with, you know, social media or the different platforms. And like, we don't want that to define who we are. And like, we want to make sure that our identity as like humans are not like being taken over by technology. Like technology is a great tool when it's in its proper place. However, oftentimes it can get in the way of like living life.
For sure. Well said. And we were chatting this morning and I was like, dude, let's talk about this because this is something I always struggle with, and I fancy myself a minimalist, but I think I'm not. You know, I like the idea of minimalism and, you know, only keeping things that add value to my life. But I think the point there is like, first and foremost, like minimalism doesn't just mean get rid of everything. It does mean keeping the things that add value to your life or things that are worth keeping, you know, not the cheap plasticky stuff. But I mean, if you like it, you know, that's one thing. But I think the part that people might get stuck on, and I do too, is like, what do we mean by does it bring you value, or like, does it make you happy or spark joy, as Marie Kondo would say? And I think not everything in life that sparks joy is a good thing. So
well, maybe it's not joy that you're experiencing. Like maybe it's like a false sense of like pleasure, like because like I think a lot of people live in like a hedonistic mindset. Like if it brings me pleasure, then it's something good. If it brings me pain, I don't want anything to do with it. So I'd rather scroll on TikTok or Instagram than like face life. And like I think one of the important realities is to face is that we have a finite time on this earth. And like the more we can get comfortable with that idea, I think the more we'll start living life to the full.
Yeah, definitely. And so, yeah, I think just the discernment there. I mean, obviously, you know, as an example, as we're talking about this, buying a new Apple product, getting it, opening it, even if like there's a few extra tools or features added to it that you feel help you in your productivity or whatever, it's still good to be able to discern like, is this something that I needed to help my career? Is this something that benefits my family? Or is this just a feeling of pleasure of opening something new and being able to flash it to everyone in the office or around town? I got the new Apple Watch, you know, like, is it a status thing, you know? And I think it really does come down to that. And I think, you know, especially everyone's going to be different. I think, like you're saying, like the hedonistic sort of way of feeling and thinking and experiencing the world. I think for some people that is their life. And to some extent, like, that's fine. You know, you do you kind of thing. But I think for me specifically, you know, being a dad, being a husband, having friends, you know, and trying to be a good human. In general, I think there's a lot of things that bring me pleasure, but not others. And so the reason why I love this topic today is Maria and I have been talking about this a lot lately. And there's a lot of things that I purchase and I think, well, this will be good for the business, or this will be good for note taking on maybe a new iPad or getting the latest iPhone. And it's like, do you need to spend that money that's ultimately my family's money for something that gets me this much closer to what,
Right.
So I think, especially in the materialistic sense of technology and productivity there, I think there's just a lot to be said for, having a computer for 10 years. If it's still able to serve you well and you're still able to be productive and efficient, I think there's a certain point as we talk about technology in our careers where, if you've got a 10-year-old MacBook that you're trying to edit video, 4K video on because, it's the new standard sort of for the industry. Like if it's taking you 4 hours to export a video, that's really cutting into productivity and serving others with the content you're making and making money for your family through that. So I think there's a certain tipping point where it makes sense to upgrade or buy something new, but definitely, making sure it checks out with the family, with the finances, and saying, maybe even running some tests and say, if I had these 4 hours back that are spent exporting this one video, like what could I do with that? So,
or maybe there's a better way to spend those 4 hours.
Sure.
Like maybe we're asking the wrong questions, to be honest. Like, maybe our time would be better spent just saying like, hey, like there's a better, but like, I get what you're saying. Like, to be honest, like I've been that person that like is like, it takes me a while to upgrade my devices sometimes, like because I have a struggle of like, is this worth it? Like, I don't want to spend $2,000 in a new machine just because it's shiny and bright, although I do want to spend $2,000 plus on the new MacBook Pros. Hate to say it, but like those things are sick. But here maybe we should have this conversation is like whether I should or not. But I've been rocking I think it was like a mid 2010 MacBook Pro 13-inch for forever. I got this in college, and basically I had been using it from then until, maybe a year or two ago.
Dang.
And like I got my money's worth out of that device. Like I actually like went in there, replaced like so many compartments. Now you can't replace anything in the computers. Hopefully they'll change that. But like I would like go in there, change out like RAM, change out like the hard drive, change out like the keyboard even. Like it was insane how much I had to do to like make that thing like, it was like a, Frankenstein. But it served me well for a while. However, I did get up to a point where it's just like, this is not worth it. Like I'm spending way too much time. Like, for example, like I would do like music production, and like it would, the buffer would, freeze it up, and then like I'd have to restart or, and then it just became like a hassle. So I think like in that case, like once you hit a roadblock like that, that's when you should seriously be like, this is like honestly becoming a, stopping point for my creativity. I need to make a change. And like, I probably waited too long to make that change. Like, whereas there's probably the opposite where people just like jump on, like, I'm just going to buy the next thing. And for some people that's fine. Like maybe they have a good reason for it. But there's also like this sense of like, our culture is so much about like getting the new thing. And like, that can't be good for our environment. It can't be good for like individuals as a person. Like you said, like, it becomes a status symbol.
Yeah.
And like, is that healthy? Like, should we be putting value into our materials rather than the person? And I think that's like an important question to ask is like, are we associating what they own, what they buy, where they live with like the value of a person?
Sure. Yeah. And I think looking inward at yourself too, and that's a good point too. Just looking at, I came up with this thing, I guess, for my personal brand, which is like focus on the things that matter. And the things that matter to you could be different, but really sort of deciding those things and then saying, if I buy this thing that should help me, is it aiding in me? Like, is it making me a better person? Is it helping me be more productive? Or is it literally just that pleasure, that thing where, well, I'd be 10% faster in my workflow. Like what does that actually mean? And is that worth it, in the long run? Maybe. I think it's something we all have to sort of decide. But I think it'd be cool too to hit on the like software side of things too. We're talking about sort of like physical items and like the power and stuff that we get in devices and technology. And there's obviously technology that literally doesn't matter. Like, I don't know, like
your knife.
My knife?
Like in a cutting block. I mean, that's a technology. I mean, like, I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe that's going in a completely different direction than you meant. But I was just thinking, like, there is technology that we don't think about every day.
Sure. No, yeah. I guess what I was more so saying was like, if you buy like a piece of technology art, or like I have the Ember mug, which keeps my coffee warm, and it's like, I think I got that as a gift for Christmas or something. So it's like a pleasure thing, sure. And I'm not increasing.
Equate that with technology.
Yeah, I mean, I think technology meaning electricity powered. I mean it keeps my coffee warm and I charge it. So that's what I see.
I didn't realize that it did that. So it keeps your coffee warm.
So yeah. So that's it's literally it heats my coffee throughout the couple hours that it stays charged. So like, does that help my productivity? Does that do anything? I don't have to walk to the kitchen to heat up my coffee. I don't know. But like, that's something where, do I need that, or do I get a coffee mug and pour the hot coffee, and when it gets cold, that's what happens to hot liquid, So I think there's that side of things, but sort of moving into software and productivity there, I think we've hit a little bit on like Instagram or these platforms that we're publishing to or scrolling. I don't know how much we want to talk about it, but like I think there's something to be said for as creators where we need to be on those platforms, like how we manage our time there. I feel very fortunate that I don't love social media. I don't naturally like going on Instagram and scrolling. So when I use Instagram, it is more so for posting something. Literally, that's it. It probably means I'm a terrible person because I don't really care what the other creators are doing on there. I'm just, posting my own stuff. Another story for another day, or maybe not. I mean, are we bringing value to others and stuff? So,
no, let me jump in real quick. Like, it's funny that you mentioned that. It's like there's the consumer side of Instagram, but there's also the creator side. And like one thing that I've wondered about is like I'm creating this content, and it's like ridiculous to look at like how many hours people have consumed my content. Like it's like, holy cow, at this point someone spent a long, I forget the number of hours exactly, but I think I'm close to 4,000 hours. And so like for someone to have spent, I obviously it's distributed amongst people, but like people have spent 4,000 hours basically like consuming my content. Yeah. And it's like, as a creator, I feel like I have a responsibility to make content that betters someone's life and not take away from it. Like if I'm just like creating like, I mean, I guess like, but start messy still. But like, there is that question of like, should I create this piece of content? And then also like, does it add enough value for someone to consume it? Because I think like, if I put this out there, there will be people spending hours watching it.
Yeah.
Potentially.
That's crazy. And that's a good way of looking at it too. I think it's easy, and I'm a example of this, I guess. Like I think a lot of creators do think in terms of like what will get more views. Right. And or watch time or whatever. So there's more like the clickbait, like I'm going to make a video because everyone's looking at this. And it's it's a strategy, as we're trying to make money and grow our brand and influence, we want to kind of stay on top of what's being talked about. But then it's a question of like, okay, I'm picking this topic because everyone likes it. Maybe I don't necessarily love it. Can I add actual value to them, or am I literally just doing this to take from them, get their eyes on this. So
Right.
it's definitely good, to be thinking in terms of helping and adding value. I mean, in the long run, adding value to someone's life is what really gets your subscribers and people who are really into like what you're doing. So it's a lot to think about.
Having like authenticity. Like I think that's something that's so important and people hunger for, is like being authentic, being real. Yeah. And like, it was funny that you said like you don't really like social media or enjoy using it that much. And I mean, maybe that's a good thing. Like, it's weird to say this, but maybe that's a good thing. Like, as humans, are we made to be consuming so much content from all these different avenues? Or would it be better if you like consume content like with a smaller circle? Because what is it? Like, humans are made to have, what is it, 100 or 100 something
solid
like,
contacts with people kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, what is it doing to humans, like, to have so many, like bombardment? I can't remember the exact numbers, but like, it's ridiculous how much content we consume on a daily basis that like people wouldn't get like in a lifetime back in like the 1700s or like 1800s. Like, we're like, the rate at which we get content in, like, how are we using that information?
Right.
Like, are we becoming mere vegetables looking at our phones? Like, or are we like being enriched? Are we living better lives because of that device in front of us?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I also know too, like, again, going back to the topic of buying technology, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, they all know my spending habits. They know what I enjoy. So that's another reason why, like, I want to figure out better ways of avoiding social media, because I go to Instagram and it's like, check out this new thing that you don't need, but we're going to make you think you do. And, it'll improve your life. As a good marketer, you start with how it's going to help you, how it's going to bring value. So that's what gets me. And so as I'm scrolling, when I do, I have seen an ad for something, clicked the button and bought it before. Like, good for them, that
worked.
ROI is insane. So, but that's the thing too, is I'm trying to work on my environment in terms of, there's only so much that I can do to help my spending habits or avoid technology. And, I drive my car down the street and there's billboards. There's certain things you can't really avoid in your environment, but in terms of like trying to limit my time or stay off platforms where I know I'm being bombarded with the things that I don't need, is something I'm trying to think about too. And in fact, I wish there was a way, and there are certain things like this, but like a platform where you can publish all your content from and you don't see any other content. You know what I mean? So like,
Interesting.
there's like scheduling software and stuff which kind of works this way, but wouldn't it be cool if like I make a YouTube video and I just go to this one website and say, I want to put this on YouTube. It's all the same, but I don't have to go to the YouTube homepage first. I don't have to, see anything else. I'm just uploading, getting everything I need there. And then I'm like, well, I want to make an Instagram post about it now. And I just click the Instagram tab and like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Right. Where you have kind of like a removal from the actual platform.
Right.
It just goes to show you the power of those platforms to suck you in. Like,
it's insane.
They've dialed it in. They've dialed in like notifications. I think that's one thing we could talk about is like, for example, do you have notifications on your phone, and what do you allow to get through to you?
So yeah, notifications. My good buddy Andrew, who is in my band, these are the artwork from our albums, but he found this article on Medium where this guy, it's like such a long read. Like, it takes like an hour to like read and process everything. But there's a Medium article where this guy is like, how to make your phone so you're using it and it's not using you, kind of thing. Wow. And there was a lot of where you position your apps, what you do with notifications, even like turning off your like raise to wake feature. Like he goes in depth at how like
Wow.
when you go to use your phone, it's because you have an idea of what you want to do in your mind and you do it and then you put your phone back down. So there's like 0 distractions, things like that. And I think definitely with the new focus modes in, iOS 15, speaking of new technology, but that's definitely a feature that's like high value to me. When I roll up to work, it turns on work mode and like all of my game or YouTube or things that I don't need to worry about here just get turned off, like I can't see those. So yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of upfront work you can do, which is that friction, which like I've told my boss about focus mode and she's like, I just don't have time to like sit down and set that up. And it's like, dang man, like that's how they get you, but
right.
The options are there. So like if you want to be, proactive and try and set up focus modes, or you can even just turn off like the notification little icon on each app, that little red bubble that pops up.
Right.
So that when you look at your home screen, you don't see all these notifications and want to click on them. So there's different things you can do definitely that help avoid going to Instagram just because you get a notification type thing.
Right. I mean, I can speak personally. Like I've tried just about every technique to like avoid distractions from your phone, but sometimes I feel like it almost generates more of like an interest in checking your phone because you're not getting those notifications, because then all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, like
right,
have I gotten anything there? Like right. I mean, it's just like your email. People check their email way too much, like, and whether they realize it or not, like they're checking it so many times.
Yeah.
If like they had like a little counter, I think it would make people sick to see how many times they've gone and like absentmindedly. I mean, how many times do you open a browser and you just start naturally typing in something?
Yeah.
It's crazy. I've tried Grayscale. I've tried like, not even having a phone for a while. And that was interesting, but like, I don't know, like I struggle with understanding people that like completely, they do a dumb phone. Like I don't know if I get that. And I feel like it's more of like a social, like, get people interested in their content because they just
and again, it's one of those look at me kind of things, like look what I did. Or I mean, I don't know. But I've thought about it, but it's like there's always something. It's like, yeah, but what if my mom tries to reach me on Facebook Messenger? Like there's always something you can tell yourself where you're like, well, I would need to have Facebook Messenger, so I can't just have text and phone call. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah. I guess like I struggle, like, is that maybe it's like a bad thing that we're so like accustomed to technology in our pockets, like, and on our watches, like, I've tried like a smarter watch than this, and like this is like more of like a fitness tracker. But like sometimes I felt like it was too intrusive. Like, yes, it might help me understand what's coming up, or maybe a phone call that comes in, but like to get all that information that close, I mean, I don't know. I have been tempted to try out an Apple Watch. I'll be completely honest. But like I do also wonder like the impact of having some technology like on me that frequently.
Well, I can tell you too, I have the Apple Watch. I had the Series 0, the first one, and then I got the Series 4, which is what I have now. And the Series 7 just came out, and I really was tempted to get it, but I didn't, and it's great. This thing
resisted technology.
Again, this is literally it's not slow. It does what it needs to. But I'll tell you, my boss, Whitney here, was like, I hate when you guys wear those smartwatches, especially in meetings, because you get a notification that might actually be really important, that has something to do with work that needs to be answered right now. But to me, it looks like I'm bored, especially like when we're meeting with an important client or something like that. Like it gives a bad vibe to even check. I mean, checking the time is kind of, I'm bored, but even just like, what time is it? Because I need to get to my next meeting. For some reason, I feel like it's more acceptable to look at the time on your phone than to like look at your smartwatch nowadays, which is so weird to think about. But for a while I was like, okay, I'm gonna wear a dumb watch because that's what you wanted. And we recently started a wellness program here at work where everyone here is doing like kind of a beta test before we roll it out to the public for people. And I was like, well, I need to I need to know how many calories I'm burning. So like I need to wear it, right?
Right.
So like I put it back on and I've been wearing it every day, and like, yes, that's a good point, and I do need that, but like, is that enough reason to look at my watch during meetings and stuff again? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've struggled with that. Like when you're in like an environment where you should be paying attention to somebody, or you should be like, you know, away from your phone, away from your devices. However, like it is so hard. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this where like, you know, someone's talking to you and you're just like, you don't even realize it.
Yep.
Like you're being so like, I guess like, but like, who's to blame? I mean, like, honestly, I feel like, you know, as an individual, you should be the one to be blamed, but like, it is like, you know, the psychology behind it, like the, you know, our human minds, like probably weren't made for so much dopamine hits. Like, you know, it's like a drug. Like, and people, I think, are okay with like this kind of drug where it's just like, it's like an acceptable form of like smoking, you know, it's like, it hasn't gotten to the point yet where people are, you know, raising like, you know, putting on warning labels on your phone. Like that'll be next. Like
probably, you know, we'll be seeing those like anti-smoking commercials, but it will be like for checking notifications, which just sounds insane, but like we kind of need that, you know? I don't know. Something that I've been thinking about throughout this episode, and I think we should talk about it in another episode, but there's a book called Do More Better by Tim Challies. I don't know if I've told you about it before.
I read it.
Did you?
Yes, you did. You were the one that made me read it. Yeah.
Yeah. So a super quick read. I'd love to talk about how he thinks there are like 3 softwares, I guess, digital softwares that we can sort of group together and use, with the goal being set your priorities in life first. And then these tools allow you to focus on those and keep all of this incoming data in the right place and, you know, sorting it correctly. So I would love to talk to maybe on another episode, maybe next episode or follow-up episode of like technology and software that, I mean, that book was written a while ago and like the tools are still useful, but I think more than anything, like the theory and the thinking behind it, the values stay true. And I think they will forever. So talking about technology in a way that how does it help you stay productive, or how can you use it to help sort your life and serve your priorities, whether it's family or a church body or work colleagues or literally just your social group of friends, you know? So I don't know. I mean, we've been talking for a while today, so I feel
maybe
like,
that's a teaser for next time.
You know, I'd be happy.
But yeah, no, that'd be great. Like maybe we'll talk about productivity systems.
Yeah.
I know I personally like bounce between a bunch of different things. I've tried paper planners, digital, like so many different like project management tools. Like you name it, I probably have tried it or dabbled in it. So like, I think that'd be a cool thing to talk about, and like kind of like understanding what productivity is in a nutshell. Like, is it merely just getting more stuff done, or is it getting like the right stuff?
Sure.
You know,
absolutely.
focusing on that.
And it's funny. I've also bounced around with different task softwares, or, you know, keeping just an analog journal. And it's funny, while we're on the topic today of like this idea of consumerism or, you know, dopamine even, I love trying out new software. So like, I'll be using something that served me well for a while, like a to-do list on my phone. And I'm like, this literally has everything I need for a to-do list. But then I see an ad for a new one and it's like, yeah, but does your to-do list have graphs that show you how much you've gotten done? And it's like, ooh. And so I'll jump ship and go there. Yeah, and spend time setting that up for an hour, and then it's like, I just feel like it's all the same, you know. That's the same thing without the, I guess, price point maybe of me jumping from like Series 4 to Series 7 on the Apple Watch. You know, it's just something a little bit
shiny
better.
Syndrome,
right? So it's funny. I am so envious of people who, like you, have had a MacBook for 10 years, or, you know, have only been writing in a journal for 5 years and they're super productive, because there's so much value in someone who can be, you know, content with what they have. And I struggle with that so much, and my life is amazing. Like, I have nothing to complain about. And, you know, it's just an issue for me to wake up and say, like, I need something more, you know, and it's an innate animalistic behavior, but I think that's what separates us from the animals, you know, is being able to have that conscience. So
yeah, I guess, like, on the flip side though, maybe it's a strength of yours, but like maybe it's how you like let that come out. Like I guess for me, like, I've taken one of those, like, what is it, Strength Quest, where like you can figure out like your top 5 like things that you're kind of like innate, you know, at, like, so one of mine is futuristic. So I feel like that's probably part of why I like to try out new things, try out like the beta versions of something, or, you know, jump on a new product. And there has to be kind of like a test part of the culture. Like there has to be somebody that like tries something out, adventures into the unknown.
Sure.
But you're right. Like it can go to a point where it's like, it's not helping you. Yeah.
Like at what cost kind of thing. And like everything else in life, you know, there's a balance. Like you're saying, I'm sure there are some good aspects of it, you know, and like you're saying, like that's how we move society forward, and being curious and interested in new things. But then, again, at what cost, you know? And I constantly think, you know, like I'll see my old work partner Maggie, and she's single, she's my age, and she has time to read more, or to go to movies, or try out new technology, and that's great. She has that ability. She doesn't have, you know, a husband, doesn't have any kids, so like I'm constantly thinking, like, that is a life that I could have. I don't want it. But like, now that I am here in my life, how do I obviously put priorities first? And it's super important. So I don't know.
Absolutely, man. I think that's a perfect setup for our next podcast. So make sure you subscribe, or what is it? Follow on like podcasts. Subscribe. Okay. So subscribe. Check out Spencer Pugh's stuff. He's got an awesome YouTube channel, so be sure to subscribe to him. Anything else? Any last thoughts?
Yeah, I'll also say, subscribe to Paul as well, and follow him on Instagram, and he's got good content as well, so I think you'll enjoy it. Final thoughts, just thank you guys for listening. You know, if you're listening to the podcast, subscribe, rate, review, I think are the 3. If you're watching back on YouTube, obviously subscribe, like, bell notification, all that good stuff. So we appreciate you guys.
Or should they use the notification?
You know.
Join us next time.
I know. Start messy, right? Is that how we should end these?
Yes. Absolutely. Messy. Till next time. Stay messy.
Stay messy. I love it.
Awesome.